Most yoga students are not aware that Yogi Bhajan created a virtual elephant graveyard with all of these thousands of ivory figurines, full ivory tusks that he collected and hoarded and are now kept in Espanola, New Mexico at Yogi Bhajan's private ranch there in a secret location. Now, I was with Yogi Bhajan's group for 30 years and on the personal security of Yogi Bhajan in Los Angeles for much of that time. So I am very aware of the ivory figurines that Yogi Bhajan hoarded. Now, I want to give you a completely accurate story of the time when Yogi Bhajan and our group went to the LA Gem show there in Los Angeles in the mid-1980s. Yogi Bhajan commanded me to buy an ivory figurine chess set, much like this one in the picture, at the Gem show. I used my American Express card and paid, as I recall, about $3,000 for this ivory chess set. Now, Yogi Bhajan, I witnessed him buying thousands of dollars of ivory here at this Gem show in the 1980s, just before it became illegal to trade or buy ivory in the United States. So I know that there's lots and lots of ivory figurines and ivory tusks, just like this one shown in the picture here at the Yogi Bhajan Ranch down there in Espanola, New Mexico. This is just one of several tusks down there, and they're in his private meditation room there at the Yogi Bhajan Ranch. So I'm calling on the 3HO Foundation, which is one of the organizations of Yogi Bhajan's, to have an ivory crush day and show their support for the stopping of killing of elephants and this trade of illegal ivory. It's particularly important that there is a stop to this trade of ivory and that we actually destroy the ivory that's even legal in this country, because it's really impossible to tell the difference between old ivory and new ivory. So if we show this support by crushing even the old ivory, then we can stop this, we can crush this illegal trade of the ivory around the world by showing solidarity and by showing that we can sacrifice this old ivory that we have. Now, again, 3HO is the one responsible for Yogi Bhajan's collection, his estate, and they have a huge yoga empire. And in fact, they just had this Peace Prayer Day yesterday, and I'm sure that most of the participants in this Peace Prayer Day, 3HO's Peace Prayer Day, are unaware of the hoarding and the atrocities that Yogi Bhajan committed by collecting all of these ivories, and he even wore these natural fur coats. You can see him here in the picture here of with this natural fur coat that he wore. So I call on 3HO, I call on Yogi Bhajan's estate to step up and show solidarity in protecting animals, endangered species, and that they come out and destroy these items and show their solidarity to the world about this. Now, these things are located down in Espanola, New Mexico. You can see here the front gate to this Yogi Bhajan estate down there. And in the description of this video, I'll put the latitude and longitude, and you can look it up on Google Earth and see exactly where this huge estate is, where they keep all the Yogi Bhajan archives and all these items that were gifted to Yogi Bhajan and also that he bought. They keep them all in storage down there in Espanola, New Mexico. They keep it guarded here. You can see here it's being guarded by some of the 3HO cult members here of Yogi Bhajan's. Here's another picture of Yogi Bhajan there too. So again, we need to step up, and we need to tell and demand that 3HO do this. that they destroy this ivory. Now, Yogi Bhajan not only collected and hoarded this ivory, he also hoarded huge gemstones and was very greedy. He created this huge billion-dollar empire around his fake yoga teachings, which he essentially has been shown that he made up. And he conned innocent yoga students and these people who wanted to find spiritual peace of mind. He conned them into thinking that his teachings were ancient, which they weren't. Again, it's been showing, you can watch some of my other videos that show conclusively the Yogi Bhajan made up most of his exercises, and they have not any kind of history or lineage. Now, Yogi Bhajan, I mentioned, was very greedy. You can see here Yogi Bhajan with one of his henchmen, this Hari Jivan Singh in Beverly Hills. I was on security duty there throughout most of the 80s in Los Angeles. And I know for a fact that Yogi Bhajan spent most of his time going to expensive lunches up at La Scala in Beverly Hills. And we go out to this Jerry's Artine Jewelers there in Beverly Drive. Spend most of the afternoon buying and selling these gems. You can see here with this Hari Jivan, who was later charged in a field of schemes. You can see here a description of that charge there by the Federal Trade Commission. He was charged with trying to sell worthless gems to elderly people, trying to con them out of thousands of dollars. So Yogi Bhajan was involved in a lot of greedy and shady things that were really not what a spiritual teacher, so-called spiritual teacher, should be engaged in. Now, I want to just get back to this ivory trade again, why it's very important that we stop this illegal trade in ivory, and why it's important that Yogi Bhajan's hoard be disposed of. Now, it's very difficult to tell the difference between the old ivory and the new ivory. So, virtually impossible, as experts say. So, if we destroy the old ivory, then it shows that these people who trade in the illegal ivory will be crushed by the solidarity of those who destroy even the old ivory, take it upon themselves to destroy these collections. So we call upon 3HO and this Yogi Bhajan estate to destroy these old ivory figurines and ivory tusks that they have in their possession. If you're a yoga student, or if you drink yogi tea, which is another Yogi Bhajan product, I encourage you all to write them and tell them to destroy these ivory figurines and ivory tusks that they have in their possession. And you can even ask them about these ivory tusks. If you go down there to Espanola and see them and see what they say about it. You'd like to see these ivory tusks, and you'd like to explain to them why it's important that we stop this trade in ivory. 30,000 elephants a year are killed because of for their ivory. And this is just senseless bloodshed and murder that could be prevented if we were to destroy these ivory figurines and to stop this illegal trade in ivory. So we want to, again, call in 3HO to dispose of these things. They can have their own ivory crush day, just like they did in New York here on Friday, I think it was, when they did this. So again, Yogi Bhajan was involved in a lot of shady things, as I mentioned. He was also accused of abusing his students. And he would have us work long hours in order to give money to him. I personally gave him like $5,000 in cash once that he said to give him. I don't know what he used it for. But I do know that he has a whole stable full of these expensive Rolls Royces that they still keep down there in Espanola. You can see here, this is a recent photo of the Rolls Royces kept down there in Espanola, New Mexico, at his so-called ranch. They keep golden figurines down there. It's just such a waste of money, and they're just gathering cobwebs down there in this place. Now, as I mentioned, several of Yogi Bhajan's students accused him of abuse, and even one accused him of rape and sexual abuse. You can see here, this was a lawsuit that was brought against Yogi Bhajan in 1984. Now, I was aware of this lawsuit, but Yogi Bhajan just brushed over it and said that these people were really crazy. But I talked to the attorney who represented some of these students and secretaries who accused Yogi Bhajan of rape, and they said Yogi Bhajan, the attorney told me that Yogi Bhajan refused to come to the deposition where he would give his testimony and have to tell the truth about what happened. And so Yogi Bhajan would always give the excuse that his health was not good enough to come to this deposition. He'd also always get one of his Khalsa doctors to give him an excuse that his heart was not good enough to go. Well, I know that Yogi Bhajan was well enough to go to these depositions because I was on security, and we would go to La Scala every day, spend up to $2,000 on lunch. It was really very corrupt now that I think about it, and I'm really ashamed that I participated in that. But, you know, I was only in my 20s then, and I thought that Yogi Bhajan was a real spiritual teacher. But it turns out that he was really a fraud. Here was another lawsuit that I looked up down in New Mexico, how Yogi Bhajan ordered this woman to have her fallopian tubes removed. And essentially, he was ordering her to be sterilized. And she sued him, and eventually won on appeal that she could take it to court against him. But she settled out of court before it actually went to trial. Yogi Bhajan would always get these court cases settled out of court, and usually for large settlement amounts. So he wouldn't have to face the lights, as this attorney told me. He just refused to come to depositions and to really face the truth about things. Now, Yogi Bhajan's followers continue in this charade, kind of like the emperor has no clothes charade. They sell his garments as relics, like the Catholics did in the Middle Ages. They bow at his death place here. You can see they had a 10th anniversary celebration of his death, and they bow at his death place. So anything Yogi Bhajan did, whether killing animals or whether collecting hoards of ivory, tusks and figurines, they worship him, and they worship everything that he does. So the next time you drink yogi tea, remember that this is the person, Yogi Bhajan, and you can see him here on one of the yogi tea boxes that you're supporting. And so I encourage people to stop drinking this yogi tea, boycott it, and get Yogi Bhajan people to have an ivory crush day. Take out Yogi Bhajan's old antique ivory figurines and the ivory tusks and take them out and burn them. I think that, or crush them at least, so we don't make any kind of pollution in the environment by burning them, so we probably want to just crush them. So anyway, please write Yogi Bhajan's people. You can write them at some email addresses I'll put below. I think it would also be good to write the press and to tell them about these hidden ivory figurines that the Yogi Bhajan people keep there. I think they're in the thousands down there in that ranch in New Mexico. They have a special warehouse where they store a lot of these gifts and ivory figurines that were donated and bought by Yogi Bhajan. All right, well, thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a lot of other videos to talk about some of the corruption and really disgusting things that Yogi Bhajan did. Thank you for your time.